if it doesn't take 1,000 changes to get to the life you dream about living every day? What if it's separated by just one habit, one practice, one consistent action repeated every day until it becomes who you are? And if that's true, then the most important question you could ever ask yourself isn't, how do I change everything? The real question is, what's the one thing I need to change? Most people live their whole lives under the idea that transformation takes some huge undertaking. They believe they have to become a totally different person from top to bottom, that every corner of their life has to be rearranged, that the road from here to there is long and complicated and full of obstacles they can't even see yet. Because the project feels so overwhelming, they never begin it at all. They stand at the edge of their own potential, staring across the gap, and they tell themselves that someday, when they have more time, more energy, more resources, more clarity, they'll finally make the leap. But someday never shows up, because the leap they're imagining was never the leap they actually needed to make in the first place. The truth is far simpler and a lot more beautiful than that. In almost every life, there's a foundational habit. A single behavior, a single habit, a single daily practice that holds the whole pattern of your existence in place. When that one thing shifts, everything else starts shifting with it. Not because you're working on everything at once, but because that one thing was always connected to everything else in ways you couldn't see from your old viewpoint. Your foundational habit is the secret architecture of your days. And once you find it, a small push in the right place produces more change than 10 years of effort in the wrong places ever could. Think about a house. The foundation is rarely the most visible part of the structure. When you walk in the front door, you notice the walls, the furniture, the paintings, the way the light comes through the windows. You don't notice the foundation at all. And yet, if the foundation is unstable, every other part of the house suffers. The walls crack, the doors stop closing right, the floor starts to tilt. A person could spend years trying to fix the walls, repaint the rooms, replace the furniture, and never figure out why the house still doesn't feel right. Because the problem was never in the visible parts. The problem was in the hidden point, holding everything else up. Your life works the same exact way. There are visible parts, the parts you show the world, the parts you try to improve when you feel dissatisfied. But underneath those visible parts, there's almost always a foundational habit, or the absence of one, that's shaping everything you can see. For one person, it might be the habit of getting up early. For another, it might be honest communication. For another, reading every day, or taking care of the body, or saving a portion of what they earn, or speaking to their family with kindness instead of reaction. Whatever it is, this one habit is doing more work in shaping their life than they realize. And whatever's missing, its absence is doing equal work shaping the opposite outcome. I want you to understand that your foundational habit isn't hidden because it's rare or mysterious. It's hidden because it's ordinary. It's usually sitting right in front of you, in plain sight. So obvious you've walked past it 1,000 times without ever recognizing what it was. You assumed it was too simple to matter. You assumed that something so small couldn't possibly be responsible for something so large. But that's the big miscalculation most people make about how a human life actually works. We overestimate the complicated and underestimate the consistent. We look for dramatic answers to questions that have simple, quiet ones waiting patiently for our attention. Here's a question I want you to carry with you for the rest of this conversation. It's one of the first questions Mr. Schoaf asked me before he changed my life. If you could only change one habit, and that one habit would start reshaping everything else in your life, which habit would it be? Don't rush to answer. Don't grab the first thing that pops into your head. Sit with that question the way you'd sit with an old friend who has something important to tell you. Because the answer to that question is one of the most valuable pieces of self-knowledge you could ever get your hands on. It's the map to your own foundational habit. It's the key to the door that's been standing between you and the life you've been wishing for in those quiet moments when nobody else is watching. Here's what I want you to understand. You aren't 1,000 changes away from the life you want. You're almost certainly one habit away. One consistent practice done faithfully can produce more transformation in a single year than a decade of scattered efforts aimed at everything and nothing. The trick isn't to do more. The trick is to find the one thing and do it completely. Because when you find your foundational habit and lean into it with the weight of your full attention, the architecture of your life starts rearranging itself in ways that'll honestly astonish you. And you'll look back at the person you used to be and wonder how something so simple could have made such a profound difference. Now, I must warn you about what I've seen happen with so many people. They hear that one habit could change their life, and they immediately start searching for that habit. That seems logical, right? That's exactly what I had set out to do until Mr. Schoaf gave me the key. You see, when we search, we almost always reach for the most obvious answer. We grab the habit everybody talks about, the one we've heard mentioned in 100 conversations, the one that sounds right because it's been repeated so often that it feels like the correct answer. But I want to tell you what I've learned over the years. A lot of years, sitting in rooms with millionaires and sometimes even billionaires. What I've learned is that the habit that would really change your life is almost never the habit you'd guess on the surface. You know, if I were to ask 10 people in a room what habit would change their life, I could predict a big chunk of the answers before anybody even spoke. Someone would say waking up earlier. Someone would say exercising every day. Someone would say eating better. Someone would say reading more. These are fine habits, and I'm not here to argue against any of them. But in a lot of cases, these aren't the true leverage points for the people suggesting them. They're the socially acceptable answers. They're the habits that sound good out loud. They're the answers that let a person feel like they're engaging with the question without actually engaging with it. The real habit, the one that would actually move the pieces of your life into a different shape, is usually a lot more personal, a lot more specific, and often a lot more uncomfortable to say out loud. It tends to be a habit that points directly at something you've been avoiding. It tends to touch a tender spot, a hidden weakness, a quiet pattern you've been carefully not looking at for years. And that's exactly why it's the right habit. Because the habits that transform us are almost always the habits that require us to face what we've been trying not to face. The obvious habits are comfortable because they don't ask us to confront anything. The true habit, the one with real leverage, is almost always sitting right next to a piece of self-knowledge we've been reluctant to accept. A man gets to a point in his life where he feels something is off. He's doing fine by most outside measures, but inside, there's a restlessness he can't shake. He decides he needs to change a habit. He chooses to start exercising every morning because exercise is what everyone recommends. He sticks with it for a while. His body feels better, but the restlessness stays. Because exercise wasn't his leverage point. His leverage point was actually the habit of speaking honestly with his wife about the distance that had grown between them over the years. He knew this somewhere deep inside, but he chose the gym because the gym was easier than the kitchen table. The gym required effort, but not the specific effort he was afraid of. This is the trap I want you to be aware of. Our minds are remarkably clever at swapping acceptable work for necessary work. We'll pour ourselves into habits that feel productive, but that don't touch the actual issue sitting at the center of our lives. The reason we do this isn't because we're weak or stupid. It's because the true habit is usually the one we've been secretly dreading. It's the one that asks us to tell a truth we've been hiding, to end a pattern we've been clinging to begin a practice that exposes us to something we'd rather not feel. So we grab the decoy habit. And the decoy keeps us busy enough to feel like we're growing, while the real work stays untouched. The question to ask isn't, what habit sounds good? The question to ask is, what habit am I slightly afraid to even consider? What practice, when I imagine actually doing it, causes a little tightness in my chest, a quiet resistance in my mind, an instinct to move on to a different thought? Because that resistance is a signal. That resistance is pointing you toward the very place where your growth has been waiting. The habits we resist most strongly are almost always the habits that would matter most if we actually adopted them. That's not a coincidence. That's how the mind protects itself from change. Sometimes the real habit is something you'd never say out loud because it feels too small, too strange, too personal. For one person, it might be the habit of telling the truth about how they actually feel, instead of the version of themselves they put in front of others. For another, it might be the habit of sitting still for 10 minutes a day without any distraction at all, because the one thing they've been running from their whole life is the sound of their own thoughts. For another, it might be the habit of doing the thing they've been putting off first each morning, because procrastination has become the secret architect of their whole adult life. None of these would win a popularity contest in a self-improvement book, but each one, for the right person, could be the one habit that rearranges everything. So I want to challenge you to go past the obvious answer. When you ask yourself which habit would change your life, don't settle for the first response that comes up, especially if it sounds familiar. Keep asking. Keep going deeper. What's the habit I've been avoiding without quite admitting it to myself? What's the practice that, if I were really honest, I'd know would start dismantling the pattern I've been stuck in? What's the small, specific, personal habit that has my name on it? The one that wouldn't work for anyone else but would work for me in ways I can only partly imagine. That habit is your actual leverage point, and the courage to name it, even just to yourself, is the first act of the new life you're about to start building. I'm telling you, just one kept promise to yourself can set off a chain reaction in your life that reaches places you never expected it to touch. When a person finally figures out their true leverage habit and starts practicing it consistently, something curious starts to happen. The changes don't stay contained in the area where the habit was planted. They spread. They ripple outward. They travel into rooms of your life that seemingly have nothing to do with the original habit at all. Understanding this is crucial because it explains why one habit can produce transformation that 10 disconnected efforts never could. Think about what happens inside a person the first time they keep a real promise to themselves after a long stretch of broken ones. They wake up the next morning, and there's something slightly different about the way they feel. They might not even be able to name it at first, but there's a small new current running underneath their thoughts. That current is the beginning of self-trust. And once that current starts flowing, it doesn't stay limited to the habit that kicked it off. It starts informing every other decision the person makes through the day. They're more likely to keep their word to others because they've just proven to themselves that their word is worth keeping. They're more likely to speak up in a meeting because the inner voice that said they couldn't follow through has just been contradicted by their own action. This is the domino effect I want you to understand. A single habit faithfully kept isn't just a habit. It's a statement. It's a message you're sending to every other part of yourself. The message says, I am a person who does what I say I'm going to do. And that message, once it gets received, starts traveling through the hallways of your inner life, knocking over old beliefs and rearranging old patterns as it goes. The person who always saw themselves as inconsistent starts to question that self-image. The person who believed they could never commit to anything starts wondering if that was ever actually true. The person who thought they were at the mercy of their moods starts to discover they have more authority over themselves than they ever realized. Imagine a woman who's decided her leverage habit is going to be walking outside for 30 minutes every morning, no matter the weather, mood, or circumstance. On the first day, it's just a walk. On the second day, it's still just a walk. But by the end of the first month, something has shifted. Because she's walked every morning, she's sleeping better, which means she has more energy during the day. Because she has more energy, she's engaging more fully at work, which leads to better results and more confidence. Because she's more confident, she's having a different kind of conversation with her husband in the evening, and the relationship is warming in ways it had grown cold. Because the relationship is warmer, she sleeps even better. The whole thing feeds on itself in a spiral that started with a simple walk. Notice what happened there. The walk didn't directly improve her marriage. The walk didn't directly improve her work. The walk didn't directly improve her sleep. And yet, because the walk started a change in one area, the effects traveled into every other area. This is how leverage works. You apply force at one point, and because that point is connected to everything else, the force transmits through the whole system. The people who understand this principle stop trying to fix a dozen things at once. They focus their energy on one habit, one daily practice, and they let that practice do the work of spreading into the rest of their life while they just stay consistent with the original point. The ripple effects of a kept habit are usually larger than the habit itself would suggest. This is because so much of what holds our lives in their current shape isn't really about the outside circumstances at all. It's about the inside story we tell ourselves about who we are. When that inside story starts to shift, because we've given it new evidence to consider, the whole structure of our lives starts to feel different. When things feel different on the inside, we start making different choices on the outside, often without even trying. The habit is the seed. The life change is the tree. And most people never plant the seed because they can't see the tree from where they're standing. Here's something else worth understanding. The domino effect takes time, and it rarely moves in a straight line. In the early weeks of a new habit, you may not see any of the ripples yet. The outside evidence of change might be almost invisible. This is where most people give up. They mistake the absence of visible results for the absence of actual results. But underneath the surface, the dominoes are already starting to fall. The self-trust is being built. The identity is starting to shift. The internal current is starting to flow. And one day, often weeks or months into the practice, you'll notice you've changed in ways you never explicitly tried to change, and you'll trace it back, and you'll realize it all started with the one habit you decided to keep faith with. So I want you to commit to this idea. When you pick your leverage habit, don't judge it by what it directly produces in the first week. Judge it by what it starts setting in motion. Because a single faithful habit is one of the most powerful forces in a human life. Not because of the habit itself, but because of everything that habit touches as it moves through you. You don't need to fix everything. You need to keep one promise consistently, faithfully, day after day. Then you need to watch patiently as that one kept promise becomes the first of many dominoes to fall, each one leading to the next, until the pattern of your life starts looking entirely different from the pattern you began with. If a single habit could really change your life, and if you have some sense of what that habit might be, why haven't you already adopted it? Why is it still waiting for you? Why is the door between you and the life you want still closed, when the key seems to be hanging right there within your reach? This is a question that deserves more than a quick answer, because the real answer reveals something important about being human. Between every person and the one habit that would change their life, there stands a kind of guard. Until you understand this guard, you'll keep finding yourself turned away at the same door again and again, year after year. The guard has a lot of faces. Sometimes it shows up as fear, a vague but powerful sense that if you actually took up this habit, something in your life would be threatened. The threat is rarely named clearly because the guard doesn't want you looking at it too closely. It prefers working in the shadows, whispering suggestions that you're not ready, that the timing is wrong, that you should wait until certain conditions are met before you start. Sometimes it shows up as fatigue, a deep tiredness that drops on you the moment you consider the habit, a weariness that seems reasonable in the moment, but disappears the second you turn your attention to something less challenging. Sometimes it shows up as busyness, a sudden abundance of other important things that need your attention, things that all happen to require the exact time and energy the habit would have required. The guard is the part of you that's built its identity around the life you currently have. Your current self, with all its current patterns, isn't a neutral observer of your growth. Your current self has a vested interest in staying the current self. It's gotten comfortable in the shape of the life you have now, even if that life isn't the one you wanted. It knows the rules here. It's figured out how to survive here. The moment you start adopting a habit that would fundamentally change who you are, your current self begins to resist because your current self is being asked to dissolve to make room for the person you're becoming. This is why the resistance is often strongest at the threshold. Think about it. A lot of people don't struggle nearly as much with a habit once they've been practicing it for a long time. The struggle is concentrated at the beginning, in those first days and weeks when the identity is still in transition. The guard is working overtime during that stretch, trying everything it can to return you to the familiar shape of your old life. It'll manufacture reasons, produce emotions, arrange circumstances, all for the purpose of keeping you the same. If you don't recognize this as resistance and mistake it for genuine truth about your situation, you'll turn around and walk away from the very door you came to open. You have to learn to recognize resistance for what it is, not for what it claims to be. When the guard whispers that you're too tired today, you have to understand that this isn't information about your body. It's information about the transition you're attempting. When the guard tells you today isn't the right day to begin, you have to understand that there's never a right day in the way the guard means it. There's only today, and today has everything you need. And the guard will say the same thing tomorrow and the day after that, for the rest of your life if you let it. The resistance isn't pointing at a problem. The resistance is pointing at a doorway. The size of the resistance you feel is often proportional to the significance of the habit you're resisting. When you try to adopt a minor habit that wouldn't really change much, you usually don't hit much resistance. It slides into your life easily because it's not threatening the existing structure. But when you approach a habit that has the power to transform you, the resistance becomes enormous. It becomes so enormous it can feel almost supernatural. This is actually a good sign, though it doesn't feel good while you're standing in it. The intensity of the resistance is confirmation that you found a habit of real significance. If it weren't significant, your current self wouldn't be fighting so hard to protect its territory. The way past the guard isn't to argue with it, because you can't win an argument with a part of yourself that's designed to keep you the same. The way past the guard is to act in spite of the argument. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need to feel motivated. You don't need the guard to step aside willingly. You just need to start the habit imperfectly, even while the guard is still protesting. Each time you act in the presence of resistance, you send a message to the deeper levels of your mind. The message says, this person is willing to proceed without my permission. Over time, the guard loses its grip because it built its authority on the assumption that you'd always obey it. When you stop obeying, the authority dissolves. So when you decide to approach the one habit that would change your life, don't expect the door to open easily. Expect the guard to be there. Expect the whispers, the fatigue, the suddenly urgent other priorities, the feeling that maybe you should wait. Recognize all of it as the predictable response of a part of you that's about to be dismantled, and walk through anyway. The guard has been waiting there for years, keeping you out of the life you were meant to live. But the guard has no real power to stop you, only the power of suggestion. And the moment you stop listening to the suggestions and start the habit anyway, you discover that the door was never locked. It was only being guarded. The guard was a part of yourself that's been waiting, perhaps longer than it knew, for you to finally be ready to walk through. And here's a little perspective that I believe will make everything click for you if it hasn't already. Up until now, we've talked about habits as things you do, actions you perform, practices you undertake. But there's a deeper layer beneath the action layer. And understanding this deeper layer changes everything about how habit change actually works. The deepest truth about a habit is that it's not really something you do, it's something you are. The most successful changes in a human life happen not when a person forces a new behavior onto an old identity, but when they step into a new identity that naturally expresses the behavior. Look, there are two ways to approach the habit that would change your life. The first way is to stay the person you are right now, and then try to add the new habit onto your existing identity by sheer willpower. This approach can work for a little while, but it's an exhausting way to live. You're constantly fighting against yourself, constantly reminding yourself of the new behavior, constantly experiencing the habit as an imposition on the life you were already living. Because the habit feels foreign, the moment your willpower weakens, the habit falls away, and you return to who you were before. This is why so many habit changes are temporary. The person performing the habit and the person the habit belongs to are two different people. And eventually, the older person wins. The second way, the way I want to point you toward, is totally different. In this approach, you don't try to add the habit to your current identity. You shift your identity first and let the habit become the natural expression of who you now are. Instead of asking, how do I force myself to do this new thing? You ask, who would I need to be in order for this habit to feel like home? Then you start the slow, deliberate practice of inhabiting that person, not as a performance, but as an actual reorientation of how you see yourself at the most fundamental level. The habit stops being something you force. The habit becomes something you naturally do because it's who you are now. Let's say your leverage habit is to read for an hour every evening. The first approach would have you, the current version of yourself who doesn't read, trying to force the reading onto your schedule every night. You'd feel the resistance, you'd fight against it, you'd sometimes win and sometimes lose. The second approach would have you asking a different question entirely. What kind of person reads for an hour every evening? You'd start to answer that question, not just with words, but with the way you carry yourself, the way you think about yourself, the small internal adjustments you make to how you see your own identity. You'd start to become a reader in the deep sense rather than a non-reader trying to read. And once you started seeing yourself as a reader, the reading itself would feel almost obvious. It would feel like something that fit rather than something that fought. This shift from doing to being is, in my opinion, the most important insight anyone can have about the process of changing a habit, because it moves the center of gravity from the outside behavior to the inside identity. And the inside identity is where the real leverage lives. When you change what you do, you're changing the smallest layer of yourself. When you change who you are, you're changing the layer that produces everything else. The remarkable thing is, changing who you are doesn't require years of therapy or some grand mystical awakening. It requires something much simpler, though not necessarily easier. It requires that you start treating yourself as the person who's already made the change before the evidence of the change has fully arrived. This is where most people make a critical mistake. They think they need to perform the habit for a long time before they're allowed to claim the identity. They say to themselves, I can't call myself a disciplined person until I've been disciplined for a year. I can't call myself a healthy person until I've lost the weight. I can't call myself a writer until I've finished the book. Because they withhold the identity until some future moment of sufficient proof, they never step into the identity that would make the behavior natural. But the order is actually reversed from what most people assume. You don't earn the identity by performing the habit. You step into the identity, and the habit becomes the natural result of being the person you now are. I want to invite you to try something that sounds almost too simple to be powerful, but that's changed the lives of many people who've taken it seriously. For the next week, when you think about the habit you want to adopt, I want you to stop asking yourself whether you can do it. That question keeps you stuck in the old identity, evaluating the new habit as an outsider. Instead, I want you to ask yourself, how would I go about my day if I were already the kind of person who naturally does this habit? What would I wear? How would I talk? What time would I get up? What thoughts would I allow myself to have about my own capabilities? Then I want you to move through the day as that person as best you can, without waiting for permission or proof. Because the identity isn't a reward for doing. The identity is the soil the doing takes root in. And before we go, I want you to hold on to this final thought. You're not a stranger to the person you're becoming. Somewhere inside you, that person already exists. They've been there all along, waiting for you to stop arguing with them, to stop treating them as some distant stranger, to stop making them wait for some future moment when you'll feel worthy of becoming them. The one habit that would change your life is just the outward expression of the person you already are at your deepest level, the person you've been shy of claiming. And when you finally stop performing the habit as a reach and start living it as a homecoming, you'll understand that the whole journey of change was never about learning to do something new. It was about remembering who you were always going to become.